All right, I don't know where my camera is. Hold on. This is really annoying. Oh, there it is. Hi, everybody. I'm Skip Elsheimer. Welcome to the AV Geeks lunchtime streaming show where we watch old 16 millimeter films and constantly mess with the form. Oh, hold on a second. There we go. All right. Anyways, so OBS is being a big pain in the butt, and with my setup, and I'm not sure why. So I'm paying for this option with Restream, and I'm like, well, why don't I try this and see? And this is based on an experience that I had. Oh, am I backwards? Oh man, hold on. So stupid. All right. There we are. Where am I going with this? Oh yeah. So Found Footage Festival, they use StreamYard to do their shows. And I was like, I wonder if I did this, like how would this work out? And we did this using the Restream thing. So we're going to try it as an experience and just kind of see what's going on. Anyways, yeah. All right, let's watch some our good friend Hoja. Enjoy.
This moving picture begins in the quaint and familiar streets of a quiet town. Just ahead, our dependable donkey, Slowfoot, is waiting for us. Slowfoot is waiting for us. Slowfoot. Sometimes that donkey can be stubborn as a mule. He was supposed to carry us to that coffee house where at the noon hour an old sheikh retells the beloved stories of Nasruddin Hoxha. Is this your donkey, Effendi? Yes, thank you, Burhan. It is. Are you joining us in the coffee house? Indeed we are. Slowfoot can wait out here while the sheikh tells of Nasruddin Hoxha. I have a letter from my cousin Effendi. He sends you his greetings. Ah, indeed. Thank him for me, Burhan. Is all well on his farm? Well and promising. Splendid, Burhan. He writes that the Americans are cooperating with our government to help the farmers. Rubbish. Ah, a word of wisdom from our young radical. What's wrong with helping the farmers, Hamid? Everything. Cooperation with America isn't doing any good for people who live in a city like me. You have such a fair and open mind, Hamid. I'm not interested in farmers. More production at less cost by farmers means more food at lower prices in the city markets, right? Any fool knows that. Ah, but do you? When you can buy at low prices, you can get more and better food, so you are healthier. Since you have money left over, you are wealthier. And now I have explained this, I hope you are wiser. But it's so roundabout. Why don't they just give out money to us city people? If they gave out their money directly, there would not be enough for everyone. But if they treat their money like seeds, then the fruit of those seeds can help us all. Spending money to grow more, better, and cheaper food is the best long-range plan for prosperity. I think you ought to learn, as Nasruddin Hoxha once did, that the long-range view is never to economize on food and farming. Listen, Hamid, and try to learn. Now, it once happened in the time of Nasr-ed-Din Hoxha that a year of famine and hardship fell upon the land. There was little food and less money, and every villager was wondering how he could help to solve the problem. Two of the Hoxha's friends thought of an easy way to get much more work done in their grain fields. All they needed was to borrow the Hoxha's donkey. But this idea didn't appeal to the Hoxha at all.
No, not today. My donkey is not here. But listen, the donkey is here. You're no friends if you believe my donkey more than me.
In the middle of their argument, the Hoxha and his friends were interrupted by the calling of a village meeting, where the ways and means of solving the problems of hard times were to be discussed. Many of the villagers were in favor of spending what money they had only for grain, and by working longer and harder in the fields to grow more food. But Nasr-ed-Din Hoxha had a theory which sounded much better. At least it did to him. And what he had to say soon made him the very center of attention.
Friends, we can save all the grain we need by cutting down on our donkeys' rations. They will not complain.
Well, here was a new idea. All the villagers had thought that food was very, very important. But Nasr-ed-Din Hoxha was saying,
eating is just a bad habit. Give me 1 month to show you how much grain I can save just by feeding my donkey less. In the meantime, spend your money on whatever you want and don't worry.
And from the great excitement, you could tell that everybody in the village thought this was a wonderful idea. At least almost everybody. You really couldn't tell what the Hoxha's donkey thought of it. And so, through the following days and weeks, Nasr-ed-Din Hoxha filled his measure with grain, put half of each scoopful into an empty jug, and gave the rest to his donkey. For this economy, the Hoxha was very much praised by his friends. Unfortunately, their admiration went to his head, because just to prove how right he was, he cut the donkey's barley ration in half again. Near the end of the trial month, the whole village was buzzing about how easy it was to save grain without depriving yourself of anything. After all, donkeys don't complain. And just to show what a perfect way this was to economize, on the day before he was to face the villagers, the Hocha cut his donkey's barley ration in half once more. The next day, the Hocha and his donkey stood before the villagers.
Look, my friends, all this grain I saved in just 1 month by cutting down the donkey's barley ration. You see what a bad habit eating can be? Now spend your money on what you want and stop worrying about food.
And what a tonic the loud cries of hurrah were to the Hocha's ears. He basked in their generous admiration and glowed with self-satisfaction. But alas, those same cheers meant little to the donkey, because he had dropped dead of starvation. So you see, enough good food is essential for health and happiness. And to take a long-range view of prosperity, we must all admit that money is most wisely spent that is spent to grow food. For the fruits of planted money will grow many times and help make the life we live a better one.
I love me some propaganda puppets, and that is courtesy of the National Archives and ultimately of the United States Information Service. And so basically, these were made and were shown in Middle East countries. And I talked to somebody who grew up in kind of the Middle East or Northern Africa area, and he told me that these trucks would come to his village and they would set up a projector and they would show these films and some other films, and it was a big deal. It was a lot of fun, and so this is where that message of undermining governments that the United States didn't like at the time. All right. Speaking of more propaganda and interesting stories, this is what do we got? Oh yeah, we'll watch this next. So I did some research, and we have been watching the Understanding Weather with our good friend Wesley. And that series, I tried to find out like how many of them were in that series. And I finally found someplace that listed them, because these were in the these were the early 90s when these came out. And this one is made in 92. And a lot of my resources kind of stopped cataloging in the 80s. And so this is... I did eventually find that there were 4 episodes. And so this is the final one that we're watching. Enjoy.
Wesley, calling Wesley. The Weather Bureau of Investigation is calling Wesley. Are you there, Wesley?
This is Wesley, sir.
Are you ready for another day of training?
Yes, sir.
You're doing well, Wesley. Soon you'll be a real agent like all of us at the WBI, not just an agent in training.
What is my assignment today, sir?
Why weather changes. Wesley, come in, please, Wesley.
I'm in, sir. I mean, I'm out, but here I am.
Well, what have you observed about weather changes so far?
Well, sir, the weather hasn't changed since I've been observing it. It's a nice spring day here. It's been warm and pleasant like this for several days. The sky's sort of hazy blue.
Well, you're in a warm air mass.
A warm air what, sir?
A mass, Wesley. I'll explain. Look at your weather watch. You know that our planet Earth is surrounded by an atmosphere, air, that is constantly moving. But large masses of air can stay over a region for a long period of time. When they do, they take on the characteristics of that region.
I don't quite follow that, sir.
Well, for example, air that is over the ocean in a tropical region becomes very warm and moist, and we call it a tropical air mass. And air that stays over the polar regions for a long time
Gets very cold and has less moisture than air from a tropical ocean.
and it's called?
A polar air mass?
Very good, Wesley. And what's also important to know about air masses is that they move.
They move?
Yes, look at your weather watch. We're both in North America. Cold, dry, polar air masses form in the northern parts of the continent. Warm, moist, tropical air masses form over water near the southern parts of the continent. Polar air masses usually move toward the south, and tropical air masses usually move toward the north. I'm in a polar air mass now. It's cooler and there's less moisture in the air here than in a tropical air mass, which is what you're in now. But we're going to move you to another place in that air mass.
Why, sir?
So you can be where the action is.
I don't understand, sir.
You will. A WBI van should be pulling up right now.
Yes, it is, sir. They're honking at me.
Well, get in, Wesley. They'll take you to the airport. From there, you'll fly in a WBI plane to a WBI station closer to the cold air mass I'm in.
Sir, are you there, sir?
Yes, Wesley. What is it?
Well, I was just looking at a map I drew. I drew the two air masses you showed me, kind of where I figure they are. If they keep moving like you said they were doing, they're going to bump into each other.
Oh, they've already met, Wesley. Air masses are bumping into each other all the time.
Well, sir, what happens when air masses meet?
Ah, that's what you're going to find out, Wesley.
You mean there'll be weather changes?
That's right, Wesley. And big ones, too. Especially now in early spring when there's a big temperature difference between tropical and polar air masses. But just be patient.
I'll try to be, sir.
Well, are you finally set up, Wesley?
Yes, sir, and waiting patiently.
Very good, Wesley. Anything to report?
Not in the weather, sir, but I've been noticing the weather maps that were in the newspaper the last few days. I saw some things in them that I wanted to ask you about. Take the map for 2 days ago, for instance.
Here's my map for that day. Oh, what was your question?
Well, the map doesn't show the tropical or polar air masses that you showed me, but there's an H.
An H stands for the center of a high-pressure region. That's just another term for one kind of air mass. There's also a high pressure over here. It's the one I'm in now.
A polar mass that moves south.
That's right.
And the one down there must be the air mass over where I am. A tropical air mass that moved northward.
Very good, Wesley. And this curved line between them shows where they're meeting. That's called a front. Now, the prevailing westerlies change the direction of these moving air masses, and winds high above the ground steer them. The winds move the air masses toward the east, and the front is moved toward the east, too. We moved you so you'd be closer to it. It'll be passing over you in a day or two.
What's the L mean?
You mean this? You'll find out soon. Now, did they issue you the training instruments at the WBI office?
Yes, sir.
They'll help you see the sort of changes that take place as the front passes over you. What instruments do you have?
A thermometer to measure temperature.
Barometer?
Yes, that's right, sir. Barometer. They told me it measures air pressure.
Don't forget to set the pointer to mark what the air pressure is now, so you'll be able to notice any change.
I'm doing that, sir.
Good. Now go on.
I have a weather vane. I know what that's for. It tells which direction the wind is blowing, from the southwest now, and how fast. And an umbrella.
That was good thinking, Wesley. Your idea?
No, theirs. But does that mean I can expect rain when the front passes over me?
You'll see, Wesley. It won't be long. Use your eyes and your instruments. Observe the changes and report them to me. Then we'll talk about them.
All right, sir. There's been a small change in the weather, sir.
What sort of change, Wesley?
You know the southwest wind I've been watching? Well, it seems to be blowing harder, and I see dark, puffy clouds in the west.
Those are called cumulonimbus, cumulus rain clouds. Now, look at your barometer. What's happening to the air pressure?
The needle's pointing to a lower number. I'll reset the pointer. Does this mean a lower air pressure?
Yes, that often happens as a front approaches. We say the barometer's falling. What else is happening?
The clouds are closer now. They're very tall clouds, and their bottoms look closer to the ground than they were before. Uh-oh, it's starting to rain.
Umbrella up time.
I guess so, sir. Wow, the wind's getting even stronger. And hey, the barometer's falling. Some more. Air pressure's getting even lower.
I want to show you something on your weather watch. Here's yesterday's weather map. Now, can you guess what the L means?
Well, H stands for high. Does the L stand for low pressure?
Right. Between two air masses, there's a low pressure region. The winds in the two highs move clockwise, the direction the hands of a clock move. But in the low between them, the winds move in the opposite direction, counterclockwise. Air is being drawn from each high into the low, and the warm air and cool air are beginning to mix. The low is called a cyclone, and the highs anticyclones.
Cyclone and anticyclone. Got it, sir.
The front is passing over you now, Wesley. We call this a cold front because the cold air mass is advancing, pushing the warm air mass ahead of it. It'll take several hours for the front to completely pass.
I'll be patient. Sir, I have something to report.
What's that, Wesley?
The wind has changed direction.
And that's what should have happened, Wesley. When part of this weather system was over you, winds were blowing from the southwest. Now the cold air mass is beginning to pass over you, and the winds where you are blowing from the north. And what's happening in the sky?
The sky is clearing, sir. Pretty fast.
And the temperature? Has that changed?
It sure has. It's a lot cooler now.
What about the air pressure?
That seems to be going up again, sir. I guess that must be because the cold air mass has moved over me, and it's a high-pressure region like the warm air mass was.
Quite right, Wesley. And the weather change is over. Here's the weather map that was in today's newspaper. This curved line with the pointed symbols on it represents the cold front, the boundary line between the air masses. It's raining to the east of you now where the front has moved. If the temperature had been below freezing in the polar air mass...
Would there have been snow?
Yes, a cold front like this can produce snow in early spring.
Could you show me that cold front on the map again? Thanks. What's that line attached to it?
This one with the rounded symbols?
Yes. Is that another cold front?
Well, it's a front, but the symbols mean it's a warm front. Here the cold air is retreating, allowing the warm air to mix with it. There's precipitation in this area too, but the weather in places that the warm front passes over will get warmer. And instead of the cumulus rain clouds that the cold front usually produces, a warm front usually produces the flat, straightest rain clouds.
Why are the clouds different?
Well, look at your weather watch, and I'll explain. When air masses meet, a cold air mass usually moves under a warm air mass and begins to lift it off the ground. If the warm, moist air is pushed up rapidly, cumulus rain clouds form, thunderheads. That's typical in a strong cold front where cold air is advancing. At a warm front, where the cold air mass is retreating and the warm air is pushing forward, the warm air in this case is slowly lifted as it gradually slides up the cold air mass. So the clouds tend to form in sheets, stratus clouds. In this way, warm and cold fronts usually follow each other, moving generally eastward across the continent, changing the weather in the places they pass over. What's the weather like now, Wesley?
Clear blue sky, cooler than it was before the front passed. A high pressure region, an air mass, is over me now, an anticyclone. But I'll keep watching the sky and the barometer and have my umbrella ready because I know the weather's going to change. But from now on, I'll know why.
So, yeah, that's the end. There's no more of Wesley and the Weather Bureau International. There's none of that. It's all, we saw the fourth and final episode. Yeah, so Bill Walker Productions is who made that, and they also made Wonder Cat, and they also made some other stuff that we have seen. And I just don't know if like having a main host, a main character who is just asking questions and just doesn't understand if that works. I don't know if that, it would drive me nuts. I mean, obviously it's driving you guys nuts, but yeah, just saying. Okay, what do we got? Yeah, let's jump to this. So I'm experimenting, as I said before, with this Restream Studio Live, and we're just seeing what's going on. What is this? This looks like this is a spam. All right, so here we go. This is
they're a part of nature that one can bring inside the house.
They are the interim step between the wild animal and culture and civilization.
They're such a source for man's imagination. They've inspired music, art,
sculpture, poetry.
They've been deified. Cats, through art history, have always had all sorts of meanings associated with them.
Of course, they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful to look at. All cats are beautiful. Even ugly cats are beautiful.
And goodness knows the cat has been depicted in art as long as we've had art.
There are 4,000 years of cats in the Metropolitan Museum of Art. They may be hiding, but they're there. My all-time favorite cat is called the Favorite Cat. That's that wonderful American engraving by Currier and Ives.
It's a small print, but when it's blown up, it's like the large Andy Warhol portraits of Mao. It's sort of a big brother cat. It confronts you. You got to make a decision about it.
And he certainly is the favorite cat. You can tell by the marvelously placid expression on his face. He's fat. He's well cared for. He probably gets cream all the time.
Those eyes are watching you. I get the feeling like they're little cameras back there, recording everything you do.
I think the one thing that I've found with cats, which is why I've not been involved with them, is they do not bend to human will.
They absolutely do control their own environment.
I mean, a cat takes over a chair, for example, and you move around them to some extent. I mean, the cat likes one end of our sofa. Well, we squeeze to the other end.
There's a real problem. There's a real problem.
The cat is going to get that chocolate.
So he's looking at her and saying, how can you do this to me? I just want a little bit.
The little girl has become aware of it.
She's enclosing the bowl with one hand and has a fist with a spoon in it in the other hand, just ready to beat off that cat.
Well, you know the cat's going to win.
This is by an artist, Stylen, who knew cats, who drew them and painted them his entire life. It's real.
One hates to admit that something that's only about 10 inches high is boss.
I think most cats think they're superior to humans. I'm sure mine think they're smarter than I am, and they probably are, because they always manage to get what they want. I don't all the time get what I want.
This cat is a horse of another color. Should this cat get up and walk around, we'd know he'd have to have a swagger stick.
I think Steinlen was the one who recognized the absolute linear beauty of a cat. He certainly understood cats. He studied them very closely.
There's an affection in the way he did this. The ears, the little feathers of the hair, the nose, the pinkness of it, the paw curl. There's an individuality to this cat.
Well, the Steinlen made me think of the way they sprawl, especially when you're going to bed at night and the cats are on your bed. They have a presence that's much larger than their actual size. I mean, their legs go out and they stretch. Sometimes they push you out. My wife has always never minded the cat sprawling, but sometimes I push her out, the cat, not my wife.
There's a marvelous control of design that pervades Japanese art.
This is so full of life, and so full of movement, and so full of sinew. Look at this.
That's action painting of the best sort.
The eyes, I mean, if you took just everything out of the picture except the eyes and the victim, you'd have what a cat is.
This cat really looks slightly mad, I think. This is a typical example of cat humor. Cat sees frog, cat captures frog, cat either kills frog or loses frog.
You take your domestic cat out to the country, and all of a sudden it becomes the predator. And it goes into the fields, and you watch your miniature lion or your miniature tiger stalking. And then this silly little thing will come back in with a rabbit and put it at your feet. It's domesticated again. And there is no other animal that I can think of that has that intriguing combination of wildness and domesticity.
Maybe that's what's so attractive about them, the ambiguity.
The way that Max Schmeling was eventually defeated by Joe Louis in the second match was that Louis looked at the newsreels of the first match, and the idea of Max Schmeling telegraphing his punch gave Louis the advantage. And I think cats are a little dumb in that they telegraph their interest. They'll follow something along very carefully and then pounce.
It's a lovely thing to watch a cat spot its victim, sneak up on its victim, and capture it.
The cat's coat is literally spots of color, especially on his back, the same way an impressionist understood the visible world to be spots of color.
Oh, yes. Very typical scene.
Renoir, who loved texture, probably loved the texture of the cat's fur, and obviously does in this particular painting.
The cat will reach up and nibble off the tips of every single leaf.
The woman was a model that Renoir painted often. She actually became Madame Renoir.
Every leaf on the lower fringes have been very neatly chopped off.
He has very skillfully and beautifully given us the softness, the fluffiness.
It's a losing battle.
He has given so perfectly the texture of the fur.
I've tried lemon. I've tried garlic.
It's a cat-like cat.
I've tried spanking the cat.
It's its own self.
I've tried moving the plant.
Focused on something.
I've tried everything.
I think his eyes are closed.
Cats should eat plants, but when they're your plants in your living room, it is annoying. But when you let him outside, he'll spend most of the day grazing, like a cow.
It seems to me extremely important to have cats on so many Islamic pictures which show saintly personalities, because the Prophet Muhammad was a great cat lover, and there is a famous story that once a cat slept on the Prophet's sleeve and he had to get up for his prayer, and he did not want to disturb the animal, so he took scissors and cut the sleeve so that the cat could go on sleeping. When the Prophet loves something, every Muslim is bound to love the same thing.
This absolutely adorable Persian cat is depicted in an unadorable way. He is intent on getting some of that food, and he is so interested in that he's forgetting to be adorable.
So beady-eyed, it's funny.
But even so, one of the ladies is still caressing him as he inches closer and closer to the food. That's the way cats are. They want some of what you're eating.
It's also an allegorical thing because the cat has symbolized many things in art throughout the ages. Good and evil, domesticity and wildness.
There's a lot more here than simply this particular view of Mount Fuji. The cat just very coolly looks out into the landscape. You can see a towel and a bowl there, and as you look a little more carefully, you can see to the left you have the back of a screen, and on the floor on the green tatami mats just inside the screen, you see a piece of paper in which the combs, the ornamental hair pieces that were worn by these women, is kept. She's obviously getting dressed, either in anticipation or after some episode. The cat peering out from the windowsill over the landscape stands for the courtesan, for the geisha herself.
Cats were represented in Chinese art much later than in Japanese art, which is unusual because usually the developments in Japanese art came after it. The reason for that is said to be the old legend that when Buddha died, representatives of all the species in the animal kingdom came to his funeral except for cats.
The eyes have a definite kind of occult look. An interior communication with something that you can't touch or see.
You never really know what a cat's thinking. They're very inscrutable when they're looking at you. I think we probably read more into those heads than is really in them. They're probably just thinking about little friskies or something.
The most personal art of all may be folk art. But folk may be the wrong word. Perhaps a better word would be naive, untainted by academic training.
Lady with Her Pets is an absolutely charming painting by an American primitive who worked in Duxbury, Massachusetts, named Rufus Hathaway. I like it because it's so strange. The thing I really like is her wig and the feathers that are sticking out of it. They're totally mad and eccentric, just like her collection of birds, butterflies, and cat. All of her pets are sitting for their portraits. She's really into them. She likes them, and she wants them to be noted for posterity, too.
It's such an amusing portrait. She's been made to sit there, and she is not one bit happy.
This is a little girl. This is a cat. The artist, in this case, didn't understand the way a cat was put together or the way a cat really looked.
Early portraitists often gave children a toy or a pet. They'd look more comfortable, but she certainly doesn't.
No, she's not enjoying anything. She's not even enjoying holding her little cat.
She really looks, it's almost like Gertrude Stein. I mean, she's looking very...
This kid hates the painter, but she doesn't hate the cat.
This is something completely different.
Calder emphasized the ferocious and predatory nature of cats.
It's just one line that tells you everything. He just takes that pen and he moved it and he felt it. And you could feel it as a result.
It's amazing what that man could do with a line.
Complicated. Very complicated. Very, very hostile.
Look at the meeting of the cat's teeth with the cock's underbelly, and it's really very savage. It's a typical Calder stabile, but it's just, instead of being in metal, it's just in black and white on a page.
So many of the other paintings and drawings are beautiful, but this really expresses everything about the cat and its victim. I can't imagine anybody looking at this and not really feeling it.
Currier and Ives did a lot of kitty cats, a lot of what are called sentimentals. Little cats, little birds, all sort of doing cutesy things. Here we have the cat who was the good little house cat who disappeared, went out and did her binge and wasn't watching herself and came home pregnant, and she's bringing all of her cute little kittens, and aren't they sweet? The happy hooker with her wages of sin. And at the same time, if their daughter had done the same thing, I mean, it was just very typical of America in the mid-19th century. I think cats are night people, and they want to play all night long. For the last 3 weeks, I've been woken up in the middle of the night by the screams of that little cat. I hear the meow, but I can't even do it right because it's one of the most sick sounds I've ever heard.
I love the little mice hanging from his belt, little meals, little snacks for the future. And are they mouse heads around his neck? Birds' heads? Oh, my. Oh, that's clever.
I love this Gustave Doré illustration.
Now here's a cat that's really drawn as if it's a human, shouting for help for his master who's fallen into the water.
To me, the cat is like on an opera stage, and he's singing Di Quella Pira from Verdi's Il Trovatore. I mean, doesn't he seem to be a very operatic cat with an operatic cape, cap, immense plume, fabulous boots?
I've always admired cats with their own attributes and not our own imposed upon them. I enjoy cats for themselves. I don't need to make them into something else. I would prefer to see a cat acting like a cat rather than Puss in Boots, although an exception to that would definitely be the Pink Panther.
Here is this young Manuel Osorio Manrico de Zuniga, or whatever. And just out out of playfulness, Goya has him put a live bird down in front of two absolutely agile, eager cats.
2 cats, 3 cats.
Many people don't realize that there's a third cat in that picture.
And the one in the background looms as sort of a great black presence. All you can see are the 2 eyes glowing in the dark.
Goya's cats are just marvelous. The curiosity of the cat watching this bird, the pet magpie. You know perfectly well if the little boy wasn't there, the magpie wouldn't last very long.
The little boy is just too perfect to be true, isn't he?
Or there's about to be an absolute massacre.
With his perfect little suit and his little sash.
Animals always liven up a picture.
The caged child, caged in his clothes, you know.
They clearly would like to pounce.
They do anything to get a bird.
Impending disaster.
He is going to grow up, and he too will prey on others in a much more knowing and willful way than he does now.
I think Goya understood their beauty, but he also understood their implications. And I think in his painting, he used the 3 cats to imply another layer of meaning to the composition.
Everyone is a captive there. The cats haven't pounced, and they don't look like they're about to pounce. The bird on a leash is a captive, and I assume, therefore, that one has to extrapolate that maybe this young nobleman is a captive of the society that he is in.
Goya didn't have such a cute version of the world. His whole vision of the world was disaster, wasn't it?
These were very difficult and very troubled times in the history of Spain. This child is growing up in the midst of literally warring forces which were going to tear the country apart.
There's a dimension to the people that Goya painted. With some characters, it's a sense of sadness. With others, it's a sense of confinement. With others, it's a sense of rebellion.
This is interesting because it's executed in both tempera and oil. It's by a Flemish painter who was active about 1500, who is known as the master of the story of Joseph, Joseph being the biblical Joseph.
In many of the pictures in which cats appear, the cat is endowed with a range of human emotions, which either says something about the particular painting or the theme of the painting, or perhaps about the cat's own attitude toward human events around him.
I think it's almost ominous. That furrowed brow and looking outward and slightly askew, not looking you right in the eye.
There's a cruelty there, a kind of, I'm going to take what I can get and I don't give a damn about anybody else.
Well, he's not very endearing cat. He looks more like a monkey.
He's a fat, squat little beast.
He almost looks like a rat.
I suspect that in the 16th century, cats probably didn't have a terribly happy lot. They probably did have to scavenge for food, and they probably weren't too healthy. The artist probably wasn't approaching the cat from a very positive viewpoint.
Oh, the cat was very important in medieval society. They were a means of ridding the cities, particularly, of pests.
A cat is one of the very few animals that will attack a snake and kill it. Most animals won't. And, you know, there always have been a lot of snakes in Egypt. There still are. Also, cats were used to guard the grain stores.
By being the enemy of such animals as mice and especially reptiles, which have a very negative press as far as Egyptian religion is concerned, the cat therefore moves into the realm of religion.
At times in Egyptian history, the cat was a sacred animal.
They've been deified.
And there were temples to cats, and there were entire cat cemeteries with thousands of mummified cats.
This sculpture is probably one of my favorite Metropolitan Cats.
We make our bronze cat in much the same way that the Egyptians did 3,000 years ago. But essentially, the technological differences are summed up in the heating of the metal. The ancient Egyptians had slaves blowing on blowpipes to heat the charcoal to melt the metal. The metal, of course, melts at the same temperature now as it did then.
The Egyptians, I think, really saw the personality of the cat. They did distinguish between the physical cat and the spiritual cat.
The statues that we see in museums depicting the cat in a sitting position were not intended as animal sculpture, but as sacred objects to house the bodies of the sacred cats.
They're coffins in the shape of cat figures.
Probably there hasn't been a time since the Egyptians when that beauty has been so exalted.
It's the essence of the creature. The line of the nose, the lines of the ears, the eyes. Something that an awful lot of humans have lost, a sense of their own being. I think that sums up everything I want to say about cats.
Oh, and one last thing. I find it very easy to worship a cat. They have characteristics that I think should be respected. Economy of motion, cleanliness, pride in physical well-being. We could learn a lot from cats.
So was that John Waters? I don't know. It's not. I'm not seeing any reference to it, and I am not sure. Let's see, what are we playing with here? So, as I said, we're playing with using this live studio software that is built into our Restream subscription, and trying to see if it works. So, you know, I'm running into these problems where there's hiccups with OBS, which is a wonderful program. And so I don't know, we'll play with this a couple of times. I'm going to be adding more stuff. I personally like having, you know, something here that says what we're doing and says things like, you know, hit like, subscribe, because I have to do this manually, like make that appear. And then also say things like, support us on Patreon. And things like buy us coffee at ko-fi.com/avgeeks. Those are all these things that I normally just have as a default, like right here. And also some of you said that you wanted the title, you miss having the title up in case you're coming in the middle of a film. So I have to figure out a way to do that. You know, so basically it's one of these things that just kind of pops up. So there's features I'm trying to play with and see. So yeah, in the comments, let me know what you think. And certainly hit the like and subscribe. Those are great ways to support us. as we play with this stuff. I don't like the fact that this whole screen is visible. And then I can edit that in OBS, but not so much. Yeah. So maybe you don't care. Maybe you just want to see these films, and it doesn't matter how you're seeing them. But the other thing I can do is, this is crazy, is I can actually show comments here. So you guys can all show up, and what you say shows up. And I don't know if that's something that you like, but I don't know. I'm torn on that. I mean, I do like your comments, but if they're a running thing, not so much a fan. I think it's distracting, but I don't know. We'll figure it out. And like I said, we'll play with this. It is a little bit more of a pain in the butt to have to upload the videos, but yeah. Anyways, I appreciate you tuning in today. I very much like your eyeballs, and of course, like it when you support us, either via the Super Thanks button, or via Patreon, or via the ko-fi.com. Oh, what is this? Oh, I can sell stuff. Oh my God. How does that work? Oh, wow. That's weird. All right. There's more stuff here that I'm playing with. But is this a no-go? Is this a thumbs up? I don't know. Buy the demo product. Okay. All right. Enough of this. We will see you tomorrow. Everybody have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Bye.